May 5, 1945. Maida Escarpment, Okinawa. It's 05:30 hours. Private First Class Desmond Doss crouches behind a shattered tree stump. Japanese artillery shakes the ridge around him as the 77th Infantry Division's assault begins to collapse. Men scream for medics. Bodies are scattered across 400 yards of scorched earth. The Americans have been fighting for this cliff, nicknamed Hacksaw Ridge for the way it cut men down, for 6 days. 6 days of brutal, yard-by-yard combat against Japanese defenders who know every cave, tunnel, and killing ground. At 08:10 hours, the order comes: withdraw. The Japanese counterattack is too strong. American forces are being driven back over the cliff's edge, a 400-foot vertical drop. Wounded men who can't move will be left behind. That's the cold math of war. Save who you can, and accept the losses you cannot prevent. Doss watches as his company retreats toward the cargo nets draped over the cliff, the only way down. Then he looks at the wounded. 75 men are still lying across Hacksaw Ridge, some unconscious, some bleeding out, some crying for their mothers, all of them about to become prisoners. Or worse. The statistics are brutal. Japanese forces on Okinawa had shown no mercy to captives. Reports described systematic executions of wounded Americans. The men Doss is leaving behind have minutes to live, maybe hours at best. Captain Jack Glover, the same officer who once tried to court-martial Doss for refusing to carry a rifle, grabs his arm. "Doss, that's an order. We're pulling back." But Desmond Doss doesn't move. His eyes fix on a coil of rope dropped near the cliff's edge. His mind races. The Army calls it impossible. How can one unarmed medic rescue 75 wounded men from an active battlefield, lower them down a 400-foot cliff, all while Japanese soldiers try to kill him? The answer taking shape in Doss's head violates every tactical manual. It means exposing himself to enemy fire for 12 straight hours. It means using a rope method so dangerous even expert climbers call it suicidal. And it means staying alone on Hacksaw Ridge while his entire company evacuates. What Doss cannot possibly know as he picks up that rope is this: the suicidal method he is about to improvise will not only save 75 lives, it will change how the U.S. military trains combat medics for the next 80 years. The Japanese believe the Americans have retreated. They are about to discover that one man stayed behind, and that man is about to become the most decorated medic in World War II history without ever firing a single shot. The Battle of Okinawa was meant to be America's last step before invading mainland Japan. On April 1, 1945, more than 60,000 U.S. troops landed on Okinawa, expecting fierce resistance. But the beaches were empty. Japanese Commander Lieutenant General Mitsuru Ushijima had pulled 77,000 defenders inland into caves, tunnels, and ridge lines designed as killing zones. The Maida Escarpment, Hacksaw Ridge, was the key to the southern defenses. A sheer 400-foot cliff overlooking the valley approaches to Shuri Castle, the Japanese headquarters. Whoever controlled Hacksaw Ridge controlled Okinawa. The Japanese swore no American would take it alive. The 96th Infantry Division attacked first, from April 26th to April 29th. The result? 2,500 casualties and almost no progress. Japanese troops were dug into reinforced caves. American artillery bounced off. Flamethrowers barely penetrated. Every yard forward cost lives. On April 30th, the 77th Infantry Division replaced the 96th. New troops, fresh tactics, same result. The Japanese tunnel network let them appear behind American lines, attack, then disappear. Casualties mounted, morale crumbled. The real problem wasn't firepower. The Americans had superior weapons. It wasn't courage. Their infantry fought with desperate bravery. The problem was evacuation. Wounded men on Hacksaw Ridge couldn't get down. Cargo nets were too slow. Litter teams couldn't climb the cliff under fire. Medics waited hours to move casualties, and men bled out. The consensus: Hacksaw Ridge could only be taken with overwhelming force and rapid evacuation. But evacuation during combat was almost impossible. The solution: accept higher casualties and push harder. By May 4th, the 77th had fought for 5 days. Over 500 casualties, combat efficiency down to 60%, evacuation times had tripled. Then came the counterattack. May 5th, 03 hours. 3,000 Japanese soldiers stormed out of tunnels in a coordinated assault. The 77th fought desperately but couldn't hold. Company B, Doss's company, was surrounded, taking fire from 3 sides. Captain Glover made the only possible choice: withdraw. Get mobile troops out before the Japanese cut them off. Wounded who couldn't move would be left behind. Cargo nets could maybe evacuate 20 men per hour under perfect conditions. Company B had 75 wounded and 20 minutes at most. The math was horrifying. Save 25, abandon 50. But one man in Company B refused that calculation. Desmond Doss, the same soldier branded a problem since Fort Jackson training camp in 1942. A Seventh-day Adventist who refused to carry a weapon. A conscientious objector who still enlisted because he believed in serving his country, just not in killing. His commanders tried everything to push him out. Extra duty, harassment, even threats of court-martial for refusing to train with a rifle. Captain Jack Glover himself tried to have Doss sent to a camp for objectors. "He's going to get men killed," Glover warned his battalion commander. "A medic who won't defend himself is a liability." But Doss had already survived Guam and Leyte. He had earned a reputation as the medic who ran toward gunfire, not away from it. Still, Glover didn't trust him. How could you trust a man who prayed instead of fought? Now on Hacksaw Ridge, with 75 wounded men about to face capture or execution, Glover faced the ultimate irony. The only soldier willing to stay behind and attempt the impossible rescue was the very man he tried for 8 months to get rid of. The stakes could not be higher. 75 American lives, the morale of an entire division, and the question of whether faith could achieve what firepower could not. Desmond Thomas Doss wasn't supposed to be anyone's hero. Born February 7, 1919 in Lynchburg, Virginia, he grew up poor during the Great Depression. No college degree, no military background, no signs he'd ever become a Medal of Honor recipient. Just a working-class kid who helped his mother sell vegetables at the Farmer E.S. Market and attended the Seventh-day Adventist Church every Saturday. The moment that shaped his life came when he was 15. One night, his father, Tom Doss, came home drunk and pulled a gun on Desmond's mother. Desmond wrestled the gun away, stood there with his finger on the trigger, rage burning inside him. He could stop the violence forever. Instead, he lowered the weapon and called the police to arrest his own father. That night, Desmond made a vow. He would never touch a weapon again. The 10 Commandments said, "Thou shalt not kill." To Desmond, it meant exactly that. Not in anger, not in war, not ever. When Pearl Harbor was attacked on December 7, 1941, his brother Harold enlisted immediately. Desmond could have stayed behind. His shipyard job meant deferment. But on April 1, 1942, he walked into an Army recruitment office and volunteered. "I'll serve as a medic," he said, "but I won't carry a gun." The recruiter stared at him. "Son, you're joining the infantry in wartime. Everyone carries a rifle." "Not me," Desmond replied. At Fort Jackson, South Carolina, his nightmare began. Fellow soldiers beat him up. Sergeants gave him the worst jobs. Officers called him a coward, a traitor, said men would die because he refused to fight. They tried to label him mentally unfit. They even started court-martial proceedings when he refused to handle weapons. The charges were dropped, conscientious objectors were legally protected, but the humiliation continued. His own commander, Captain Glover, still wanted him gone. Then came the turning point. October 1944, Leyte, Philippines. Company B came under heavy fire. 2 men went down. The company medic froze. Enemy bullets were too close. But Desmond didn't freeze. He crawled 50 yards through machine gun fire, treated both men, and dragged them to safety. Glover watched from the command post, stunned. Guam was worse. Desmond treated 23 wounded men under fire in a single fight. When a grenade landed near a soldier, Desmond threw himself on the man to shield him. The grenade was a dud, but Glover realized something important. Doss wasn't refusing to fight out of fear. He refused because he believed in something stronger than fear. "You're the bravest soldier I know," Glover told him after Guam. "I was wrong about you." Now on Hacksaw Ridge, with 75 wounded soldiers dying, and seconds to decide, Desmond remembered something his mother taught him. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He picked up the rope, tied a bowline knot, and turned to Glover. "I'm staying. I can get them down." Glover's reply became part of history. "Doss, that's impossible. You'll be killed." Desmond answered with 5 words that Glover repeated for the rest of his life. "Lord, help me get one more." There was no plan, no practice, no safety gear. Just Desmond Doss, a 50-foot rope, the edge of a 400-foot cliff, and 75 wounded men behind him. The method he invented on the spot should have been impossible. A double bowline knot. One loop around a wounded man's chest, another loop anchored to a tree stump at the cliff edge. Lower the man down, hand over hand. Pull the rope back up, repeat. 74 more times. Experienced climbers would call it suicidal. The bowline wasn't made for lowering people. One wrong knot and the man would fall. Rope dragged across rock could snap in minutes. And Doss had no harness, no belay system, no gloves, just rope and determination. The first man he tried to save had a sucking chest wound, unconscious, nearly 200 pounds of dead weight. Doss tied the knot, checked it twice, then began lowering him over the cliff. Halfway down, the rope burned into his hands. 3/4 down, Japanese mortars started hitting closer. At the bottom, medics stared in shock as a wounded soldier descended from the ridge. "Who the hell is up there?" one asked. "Doss," came the answer. "He's staying until everyone's down." Medics radioed Captain Glover. "Sir, Private Doss just lowered a man with a rope. He says he's going back for more." "That's insane," Glover replied. "Order him down. That's a direct order." But Doss was already climbing back up hand over hand, pulling himself onto the ridge where Japanese soldiers were hunting for survivors. A radio operator yelled, "Doss, the captain says get down here now." Doss's reply echoed, "Tell the captain I've got 74 more to go." Then he disappeared back into the battlefield. For the next 3 hours, medics at the base of Hacksaw Ridge watched in disbelief as wounded soldiers came down one after another, tied with the same knot, lowered at the same careful pace. No mistakes, no accidents. Just a single medic performing the impossible again and again. Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Hamilton, battalion commander, arrived at the evacuation point around noon. "Who authorized rope evacuation during active combat?" "No one, sir," came the reply. "Private Doss improvised it." "Where did he learn this technique?" "He didn't, sir. He's just doing it." Hamilton grabbed the radio. "Doss, this is battalion. Your rope system is working, but you need to evacuate. The Japanese are moving into your sector." Doss's calm reply came back. "Sir, I can see them, but I've still got 61 men up here. I'm not leaving." Hamilton turned to his staff. "Get me everything we know about rope evacuation under fire." "Sir, there are no such procedures." "Then what the hell is Doss doing?" A medic who had just received the 20th wounded soldier answered, "Sir, I think he's making it up as he goes, and somehow it's working." Hamilton made a decision that would later appear in every after-action report. Let him continue. Deploy security teams at the base to cover the evacuation point, and get more rope, just in case. For the next 9 hours, the suicidal rope trick was official doctrine, 1,400 hours. Hacksaw Ridge Command Post, 2 miles behind the lines. Colonel Aubrey "Red" Newman, commander of the 77th Infantry Division, studied his operations map. The ridge was marked red, enemy controlled. His intelligence officer rushed in with what sounded like nonsense. "Sir, we're still evacuating wounded from Hacksaw Ridge." "That's not possible. We withdrew at 8:30. One medic stayed behind. He's been lowering men with rope for 6 hours." Newman frowned. "One man against 3,000 Japanese?" "Yes, sir. Private First Class Desmond Doss, Company B, 307th Infantry." Newman knew the name, the conscientious objector, the medic who refused to carry a rifle. "Get me Captain Glover now." When Glover came on the radio, Newman didn't waste time. "Captain, explain why you left a medic alone on a hostile ridge." "Sir, I ordered him to withdraw. He refused, said he was staying until everyone was down." "That's insubordination." "With respect, sir, he's already evacuated 43 men. 0 losses during evacuation. The system works." The room erupted. Operations officer: "Sir, we can't allow soldiers to stay behind during withdrawals. It sets a dangerous precedent." Battalion surgeon: "The evacuation method isn't approved. What if the rope breaks? What if he dies?" Intelligence officer: "Sir, Japanese patrols are sweeping the ridge. He's unarmed, operating alone." Newman silenced them. "How many men are still up there?" 32, sir." "And what's his plan?" "He says he'll stay until the last man is down. Then he'll evacuate himself." Newman calculated quickly. 32 men at 15 minutes each meant 8 more hours. Sunset was at 18:30. Doss would be lowering wounded in total darkness, guided only by feel, while Japanese soldiers hunted him. "This is suicide," the operations officer insisted. "Send a recovery team up the nets." "That'll draw fire and cost more lives," the surgeon countered. Newman made the call. "Doss stays. Deploy snipers to suppress Japanese movement. Shift artillery fire away from his sector. And get me a direct line to that medic." 20 minutes later, Newman spoke directly to Doss over field radio. "Private, this is Colonel Newman. I'm ordering you to withdraw. You've done enough." Doss's voice was steady. "Sir, I've got 28 more. Permission to continue." "Son, do you understand the Japanese are hunting you?" "Yes, sir. I can hear them." "Then why are you still up there?" A pause. Then, "Sir, these men trusted me to patch them up. I can't leave them. Please, just let me get one more." Newman realized Doss wasn't asking. He'd already decided. The radio call was just a courtesy. "Private, I won't order you to stay, but I'm authorizing full support. We'll cover you as long as we can." "Thank you, sir." As Newman set the radio down, his operations officer muttered, "Sir, we're supporting an unapproved procedure by an unarmed soldier in a hostile zone. If this fails..." Newman cut him off. "If it fails, I'll answer for it. But right now, that medic is saving more lives than my entire division. We make damn sure he finishes the job." For the next 4 hours, the command post coordinated an unprecedented effort. Artillery suppression within 200 yards of Doss's position, sniper teams targeting enemy patrols, evacuation teams cycling at the cliff base. All of it to protect one medic who refused to abandon his wounded. By 18 hours, the count reached 72 evacuees. Only 3 remained. If you're amazed by this true story of courage under fire, hit that subscribe button. We bring you the untold stories of real heroes whose bravery changed history. 1915 hours. Darkness falls. Desmond Doss ties the rope around his 74th evacuee, a sergeant with both legs shattered by mortar fire. Doss's own hands are bloody stumps. The rope has burned through 3 layers of skin. Yet he ties the knot exactly as he has 73 times before. Loop, check, test, lower. Below, medics work in rhythm. Catch the soldier, untie the knot, stretcher, send the rope back up. Each cycle, 12 minutes. Doss has been at it for over 12 hours. The after-action reports recorded staggering data. Total evacuated, 75 men. Time on station, 12 hours, 40 minutes. Average time per soldier, 10 minutes. Rope failures. 0 evacuation casualties. Zero enemy interference during lowering. 14 incidents. None successful. Doss's injuries. Severe rope burns, dehydration, exhaustion. One unarmed medic, performing the impossible. But the numbers don't capture the reality. The Japanese weren't passive observers. A captured soldier interrogated 3 days later testified, "We saw the American medic at the cliff. 4 times we moved to capture him. Each time, American snipers killed our scouts. We didn't understand why they protected one man so fiercely. Later we heard he saved 75 wounded. We thought it was propaganda. No man could do this alone." Another Japanese report recovered from the 62nd Division headquarters stated, "American medical evacuation on the Maida escarpment exceeded all tactical expectations. A single medic remained in a hostile zone for an entire day, evacuating wounded despite our control of the area. Recommend revising defensive procedures for medical personnel." The Japanese didn't just watch, they tried to stop him. 14:30 hours. 3 Japanese soldiers emerged from a cave only 50 yards away. They spotted Doss dragging a wounded corporal. One raised his rifle. The shot never came. An American sniper half a mile away eliminated the threat. 16:45 hours. A Japanese mortar team targeted the evacuation point. Shells landed within 15 feet of Doss. He kept working. American counterfire silenced the mortars within 90 seconds. 19:45 hours. Doss lowered his 75th evacuee, Private Carl Bentley, age 19, shrapnel in his abdomen. Then the rope snapped. 75 evacuations had frayed the manila fibers to breaking point. Alone at the cliff edge, holding a severed rope, Doss had no way down. The radio crackled. "Doss, the rope is compromised. We're sending a team up." "Negative," he replied. "Japanese patrols are too close. I'll find another way." For an hour, Doss crawled along the cliff, searching for the damaged cargo net used earlier. Japanese patrols swept only 100 yards behind him, close enough to hear voices, close enough to smell cigarette smoke. At 2100 hours, he found the net, torn but still anchored. He began climbing down. Halfway, a grenade exploded at the cliff top. Shrapnel shredded the net. Doss clung to the strands, suspended 200 feet above the ground in total darkness. American troops at the base could do nothing but wait. Sergeant Ralph Baker, one of the men Doss had saved that morning, pointed upward. "That medic saved my life. Someone has to save him." Captain Glover, who had once tried to throw Doss out of the Army, gave the order. "Get me spotlights and covering fire. We're bringing him home." Floodlights lit the cliff face. Japanese guns erupted, firing at the lights. American .30 caliber machine guns fired back, tracers slicing across the night sky. In the middle of the chaos, Desmond Doss climbed down the final 200 feet. At 21:30 hours, his boots hit the ground. He collapsed. Medics rushed to him. Glover knelt beside him. "Doss, how many did you get down?" With his last strength, Doss whispered, 75, sir. Thank God I got one more." Then he passed out. The impact of that 12-hour rescue echoed across the Pacific. 77th Infantry Division After Action Report, May 7, 1945. Casualties evacuated, 75 lives. Survivors, 71, 94.7%. Typical survival rate for delayed evacuation, 40-60%. Additional lives saved by Doss, at least 26 to 41 men. The numbers became faces in letters sent home. Sergeant Ralph Baker, 24, Pennsylvania. "I'm alive because a medic named Doss stayed when everyone else left. Doctor said I would have died without immediate evacuation. I owe my life to a man who refuses to carry a gun." Corporal James Matthews, 21, Texas. "That medic dragged me 300 yards while Japs fired at us. Then he lowered me off a cliff using a rope trick I thought impossible. I'm getting married next month because of him." Even Captain Jack Glover, who Doss also saved, wrote in his Medal of Honor recommendation, "Private Doss accomplished what I believed impossible. I tried to have him removed from my company because I thought his pacifism would get men killed. Instead, his courage saved 75 lives. He was the bravest man alive. And then, to have him save my life too, was the greatest irony of all. The number that mattered most. 75 families received letters that said, "Your son is wounded but alive," instead of, "We regret to inform you." All because one medic refused to accept that impossible means impossible. October 12, 1945. The White House lawn, Washington, D.C. President Harry S. Truman shook Desmond Doss E.S. hand and held it tightly as the Medal of Honor citation was read. When it ended, Truman said, "I'm proud of you. You truly deserve this. I consider it a greater honor than being president." Doss became the first conscientious objector in U.S. history to receive the Medal of Honor. His service record was extraordinary. Hacksaw Ridge, May 5, 1945. 75 men rescued total, treated during Okinawa. 127 soldiers days under fire. 23 consecutive days. Wounds, grenade fragments, a rifle bullet, artillery shrapnel. Documented times he risked his life. Over 100. Yet Doss rejected fame with the same humility he showed under fire. After the war, he returned to Lynchburg, Virginia, married Dorothy Schuta, and worked as a carpenter. When reporters asked for interviews, he simply said, "I just did what I thought was right. God protected me. That's all there is to say." In 1976, antibiotics used to treat tuberculosis cost him his hearing. He spent his final years in silence, unable to hear the gratitude of the men he saved. In 1985, Captain Glover visited him. "I spent 8 months trying to get you kicked out. I was wrong. You taught me courage isn't about carrying a gun. It's about carrying convictions." Doss wrote back on paper, "You saved my life too, Captain. You trusted me when it mattered." On March 23, 2006, Desmond Doss died at age 87 in Piedmont, Alabama. At his funeral, more than 400 people attended, including men he had saved and the children of men he had rescued. Doss's legacy lives on. The U.S. Army Medical Corps teaches his story. His rope rescue at Hacksaw Ridge became the foundation for modern casualty evacuation training. At Fort Sam Houston, new medics see a memorial in his honor. His lesson is clear. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is refusing to use one. Even the Geneva Conventions cite his example when training medics in ethical obligations to treat all wounded, regardless of nationality. But the real legacy isn't rope techniques or medals. It's about a 26-year-old man called a coward, threatened with court-martial, who risked everything to prove that courage doesn't require killing. 75 men came home because one medic prayed, "Lord, help me get one more." And the same army that once tried to throw him out awarded him its highest honor, because the bravest warrior on Hacksaw Ridge wasn't the one who fought. It was the one who healed.